Let's talk about why it's important for homeschool students to attend a Christian university. Parents, you've spent the last 2 decades equipping your students, developing virtue and character, all built upon a biblical foundation. At a Christian university, you can assure that the professors, the students, their peers are all going to be working together to cement that aspect together, all while developing an education to better help that person through their time at the university and help them be a better person at the end for society, for the local church, and their family. So think about this. Ask yourself this. Do you want to send your student to a place that's going to exemplify the attributes of God and encourage them in godly living? We think that at a Christian university, your student is going to grow closer to the Lord rather than apart. And that's why we think that you should send your homeschool student to a Christian university. So normally, homeschool admission requirements are going to be pretty similar to the general population of students who are applying for college. So a couple things to note. One is there's going to be a GPA requirement. And some universities will set that, and so it's important for you to reach out to the universities that you are applying for to figure out what that is. An example would be 2.75 or higher. And obviously the higher it is, the better or more likely it is for your student to get in. Second, we're going to be looking at a standardized test score. That can come from the SAT, the ACT, which are the most prominent, and then a few universities, and especially some of the smaller private Christian ones, will also take the CLT, which is the classical learning test. And finally, what they want to see is a high school transcript. So once your student has completed all their classes, they'll send it in. And while you're applying, it's okay that your transcript is not complete. Go ahead and submit it from freshman through junior year. And so you turn all those things in, and from that point, they may ask you for a few additional requirements, which may include turning in letters of reference, whether that is a teacher, a pastor, or a coach. So once all those things are turned in, that's the general requirements for admissions. So let's talk about extracurricular activities in regards to scholarships. There's a number of different things that colleges look at to help with scholarshiping a student. Some major ones that we see are athletics, music, potentially art or theater, and leadership skills. Within that, athletics, I would recommend you reach out to the coach specifically. For music, I would recommend reach out to the music department if your school has one. And finally, within the leadership aspect of it, if your student is a part of speech and debate, whether they're a part of a leadership program with their youth group, make sure to write those things down. And anytime there are donor scholarships or other scholarships from the institution, a number of times they may ask for specific examples that then you can share and help your student get additional funding for school. When you're choosing your major, think about what are you passionate about. Financial aid will happen regardless of that, and so what's really important is going to be what's your calling. So when you figure out what that calling is and you decide what major you want to be, there's most likely going to be department scholarships specifically toward that. There's going to be outside scholarships that pertain to that, but what's going to be important and just help you focus upon finding financial aid is going to be determining what the major is first, and then later looking for financial aid. Dual enrollment can benefit you in a number of different ways. First off, it fulfills the requirement for both high school and college level classes in one class. So you take one class and you're getting units for both. Secondly, it prepares the student for giving them an understanding of how a college level class works. Thirdly, you are able to study at home with your parents and to do your homework alongside that guidance. So once you actually come on campus, you're able to do all those things on your own and have an understanding of how to plan well and prepare well for the university year. Parents, we know that you are caring and loving and you want the very best for your students. From a college staff member's perspective, it's always better to have your students to do as much as possible. So through the process of applying for the university, have your student do everything. Is it okay for you to look over it? Absolutely. When your student is filling out their portion of the FAFSA, they should do all of it. It's okay that you're sitting there alongside with them, but throughout the process, have your student do as much as possible. It's going to better equip them to have an understanding of what that college process is, so that if the university or college does give you a call, they'll be prepared to answer those questions. So how can you think about loans through a biblical perspective? Loans are one of those things that a lot of families, especially within Christian families, that seem kind of like a very bad negative thing, but they don't have to be. When you think about loans, think of them as a tool. Use them for things that are going to help you with your investment rather than things that depreciate. You may think of a car and you're like, I don't want to use a loan for a car because when I purchase it, it's automatically going to start depreciating. Education's a little bit different. Think of education more like a home. You have a mortgage, which then you have debt upon that mortgage, but it's an investment because that home can grow in value. Similarly, education, you are investing into, and from that investment, you're going to be a better person coming out of it than when you went in. So taking out a loan for something like education is okay within certain means. One helpful thing that I always tell students is, what career path are you planning on doing? Now, within your very first year of having a job within that career path, think about what is your yearly salary going to be. That should be your max amount of loans that you take in your undergrad years. So think about those things. It's not unbiblical to take loans out, but we still need to be good stewards of our finances. Proverbs 23:23 talks about how we should buy truth. Don't sell it. And so invest in things that are going to be long-term and helpful in the future. Third-party scholarships can definitely be a helpful tool for students when they're applying for financial aid. Normally the college will, after they've been accepted, give them a baseline package of financial aid, all from the university. They'll also offer them federal aid and loans on top of that. So when looking at outside scholarships, there's a few important things to consider. What are your connections? A lot of times we see success of students who apply for things that they're connected to. Their parents' job offers a scholarship. They're connected to it. Their church offers a scholarship for Christian organizations. They have success in it. The other area where you could look into are large databases online. A lot of times they have filters that will specifically cater to your student. A couple helpful and successful ones that we've seen our students use is salliemay.com and collegedata.com. Within that, there may be hundreds of thousands of scholarships that students see. They may get overwhelmed, but again, try to filter them down as best as possible, look for common connections, and apply for those financial aid scholarships. What is the FAFSA? The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. So a lot of times parents will hear about the FAFSA and they dread the FAFSA. It's really not too bad. There's a couple of helpful things that can help you along your way for applying for the FAFSA. First off is, when should I create a login? You can create the login the summer before is when we recommend. That's called the FSA ID. That FSA ID is going to last with you for 10 years moving forward, so hopefully your student is well graduated within that 10-year time period. How to create an FSA ID. The FSA ID is found at fsaid.ed.gov. And to be honest, I think this is more of the complicated area rather than the FAFSA itself. So let me give you a couple helpful things. One, before you start, come up with a couple security questions. So come up with 10 security questions for questions and answers. When you log in, it's going to ask you to give both questions and answers. Some will be questions given and you just provide the answers. Some you have to actually write the question in and give the answer. So for both you and the student have to do this process in order to do a FAFSA. So create the FSA ID. From there, you'll then, October 1st, the FAFSA opens. You'll then use that ID to log into your FAFSA, submit things as quickly as possible for the prior year. So if you're currently trying to attend the fall 19, spring 20 year, we're going to look at 2 years back. So it would be the 2017 tax data. You're going to fill in all your information. A lot of that information is going to be saved and move forward from years. So your first year is going to be the hardest. Moving forward, it's going to get easier. Once you complete everything, make sure you sign and submit it. Both student and parent need to sign and submit electronically the FAFSA. Once that is all in, it normally takes between 3 and 5 business days for a university to receive it. Now, when you're choosing which universities, you're allowed to put 10 different slots in for your FAFSA. And let's say you have more than 10 universities that you're looking at. Fill it all out, put in your top 10 that you want, and then if there's another university who is still in the running, you can always remove a university and replace it with another. And that university still has the data, they just won't receive any updates if you change anything on your FAFSA. You're a homeschool student and you're ready to apply for college. So what are a couple steps to help prepare you to apply for your specific university? Number 1, update your high school transcript with all courses that count towards your high school graduation. So this may include your homeschool work, anything you've done online, or dual enrollment. Number 2, calculate cumulative GPA from 9th through 11th grades. Most universities look at this initially and make their decision of admittance, and then will require you to turn in your final year later. Number 3, within your official transcript, it's helpful to put what classes you're planning on taking during your senior year of high school. And instead of putting in a GPA or putting in any grades, it's okay to put in progress for your fall semester or SP during your spring semester in the grade column. Number 4, it's helpful to list out any extracurricular activity that you may have. What we want to do is give you a helpful tool, and you can see the link below. Number 5, as you're going through your courses, remember to write down complete course descriptions. This will pertain to all the classes that you've taken from 9th through 12th grade for your records. Number 6, research and determine the final list of colleges that you want to apply for. Number 7, once you've made that decision, research those specific colleges and find out what scholarship opportunities that they have in order to make your selection. When you're looking at those scholarships, list all the requirements of the scholarships, any documentation that you may need, and specifically the deadlines offered for those scholarships. The question I get asked a lot is, how do I apply for financial aid, and what is the process for it? Generally, financial aid comes after you've been accepted to the university. You can always do your homework and go in ahead of time, look up the website and see what are the requirements. But generally speaking, you want to go through the process of admissions first. Once you complete that, then start the process of financial aid. Within the process of financial aid, there's 3 big steps for schools that offer Title IV funding. The first thing is to do a FAFSA. The FAFSA helps determine what the family's expected family contribution is, so that the university or college can determine what need-based funds can be given to the student. Second is going to be turn in any necessary documents from the financial aid team. Once you've been admitted, most financial aid teams will send out a list of required documents that you specifically need. Some may be a financial aid application, others may be a federal verification worksheet, and others may be just additional scholarship opportunities that may pertain to your student individually. So once you turn all those things in, the financial aid team will then process your award and then send that out to you. Most times it's through mail, sometimes it's going to be through email or electronic. Once your student has it, they then can accept or decline the financial aid given to them. Now, something that a lot of families question about is, can I accept financial aid from one university and another and another? And the answer is yes. You can accept your financial aid from all the universities that you get accepted for and finish your financial aid process for, but you can only have your financial aid given to you by the school you actually attend. So once you actually determine, I'm going to go to this university, you to all the other ones, I'm no longer, or I'm pulling out my application, and they'll go ahead and wipe all their financial aid clean. It's helpful for the university to, when you accept your financial aid, because then they know that they shouldn't give those funds to another student. Or it's also helpful when you do decline it, knowing that you aren't going to go there, so that they can give those funds to a different student.